Welcome to the stage, and Guillermo is representing Ensuro. Ensuro is also an insurance protocol, and we are working closely with them, and the core feature of Ensuro is providing the investor or the risk pool side. So they are collecting capital, providing means to invest in insurance solutions, and then cover insurance policies. So we are very curious to hear more about your approach, and thank you for having us.
Thank you, and sorry again for all the problems. In this presentation I'm going to talk about Ensuro, and especially more about the key decisions about our design and how it solves the main feature, the main functionality of the protocol that is around giving solvency to those reinsuring with us. Well, that's me. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Ensuro, together with Marco Mirabella, that is around, and you will see him in other panel. We founded Ensuro in 2021, and with other co-founders too. And I'm a software engineer, more than 25 years of experience, kind of a serial entrepreneur. And well, Ensuro, like the main, in a short, the description of Ensuro, what we do is we collect capital from liquidity providers in the form of stable coins, and we use that capital to back up risk, right? The way it works is like we partner with risk model providers or MCAs, that they bring the risk, they bring the distribution of the policies, and we provide them insurance capacity, they pay premiums, and on the other side we have the liquidity providers. The liquidity providers, they provide capital, and in terms of that they receive an interest, right? For this operation, we are a regulated company. We have a license, or actually two licenses from the Bermuda Monetary Authority. So these licenses allow us to underwrite policies of real world policies using capital that is sit in a blockchain. We use currently Polygon and USDC as the coin of our protocol, right? So this is this takes a long, like it combines the regulator about like the same kind of solvency that the reserves of a company can be seated on chain on smart contracts, but we achieved that, and that's a big differential. So let's start with asking Claude, our favorite AI. So what is the most important value of a reinsurance company? And you will see like the financial strength is the core value of a reinsurance company, right? So that's why also the protocol is all focused around that, around providing the guarantees that we are going to be solvent to cover the policies that we are taking, right? And in the back, you will see like how is currently the way that financial strength is assessed right now, right? And it's by ratings, by agencies, or by historical claims paying record, and all stuff like that, things that we don't have. So we are we are taking a different approach. So our guarantee of solvency is around smart contracts, around all the programmatic guarantees that you have by a set of protocol of smart contract that guarantees that the capital back in the policies is going to be there by the moment that you go and claim the policy. And just to a bit more of an introduction, like solvency, just to go with the dictionary definition, it's a possession of assets in excess of liabilities. But if we go to Solvency II, that is the standard of solvency that applies for insurance companies in Europe, but it's more or less a global standard. You will see a slightly definition, right? For solvency, you need to have more assets than liabilities, but for Solvency II, you need to have capital requirements on a basis of a 99.5 value at risk, right? That means that 99.5 is a confidence level. It means that you need to be solvent in 99.5% of the scenarios. So that means that you don't need to be fully collateralized, or at least an efficient insurance company doesn't need to be fully collateralized for all the risk that it's taking, but can act on leverage, or can have less capital, but enough capital to be solvent in the big majority of the scenarios. So that is also part of a restriction that applies to the design of Ensuro. And just to go a bit more about the last definition, and then we go to the protocol, like just to define the value at risk, is that idea of that, I don't know, if you have a roulette, a single roulette, and a single ball, like your value at risk is, I don't know, 36, because if someone puts, or 35, someone puts $1 in the number 5, you can pay, you have to pay 35 plus that $1, right? But if you have 1,000 roulettes, and then you don't need to be solvent in the 100% of the scenarios, you don't need to $35,000. You need a number that is less than that. And why? Because when you do the curve of probabilities and you apply some statistics that come from the law of large numbers and all the statistical stuff, you reach to a curve of losses, and in that curve of losses, so you have all the things that can happen, and out of that, you just take up to the 99.5 curve. And that 0.5, in some cases, make a lot of difference, right? So that is more or less the mathematical background behind all the calculations around solvency, and this is important because so this curve and this difference changes with the size of the portfolio. That's why perhaps for a small portfolio with a single policy, it's more or less the same, like 99.5 or 100%. For hundreds or thousands of policies, the difference starts to become real. And then also you have there the different solvencies, or the different amount of capital that you need. Of course, so this is a bear curve. It's not all the risks are like this in terms of distribution of probabilities, but we will always have something that is, let's say, the value at risk with the 50% possibilities, that is the expected losses, the amount of capital that you need to pay in average. On top of that is what we call the pure premium. So on top of that, in our protocol, we have a factor that is a MOC. The margin of conservatism is a corrector of that pure premium calculation that increases a bit more the pure premium, the expected losses. But you can consider both part of the same. And then we have two different tranches of capital. The junior SCR comes from solvency capital requirement, and senior SCR. So we have two tranches of capital because this allows us to give two different profiles for investors. So the investors that invest in this first tranche, the junior SCR, are more exposed to risk, right? If the losses are a bit more than the expected losses, they will suffer a reduction of the capital. Part of the capital will be used. But in exchange of that, they receive a bigger reward, bigger interest rate on the capital that they provided. And then we have the senior SCR. So that is, so if in the protocol, you will see that the reserves, these three tranches, like the pure premium, the junior SCR, and the senior SCR, are three separate tranches of capital, three separate reserves, actually three different smart contracts, and each of one keeps the reserves for those tranches. In terms of the premium breakdown, and this is also a bit also connected both with the business model and with the design of the protocol. So you will see like a gross premium that is charged to the user, and that typically has some expenses on top, the brokerage fees and all the stuff, the MGA share, so the share of our partner. Our protocol supports receiving that premium and then sending to the partner address, But what in fact happens is most of the cases so the partner takes that premium up front. So they don't send that premium to us, and in our protocol on-chain, you will only see this part, the net premium, right? Because it depends on the use case, right? If it were a policy that is sold online or on-chain, in that case, perhaps you are collecting the gross premium from the user, and then you distribute this first part immediate to the partners that don't take any risk. They just receive the premium. But what happens, at least in most of the cases, and this is something I haven't mentioned, but we cover mostly real-world policies, right? Travel insurance, crop insurance, or climate insurance. And in those cases, the policies are sold in fiat, and everything happens in fiat, and we just receive in crypto this part, the net premium that is charged, that goes to cover the actual risk. And in this net premium, we have also two tranches. One is the pure premium. As we said, is the part that is expected to cover the losses. And then, well, this is the Ensuro share, but actually it's split between two, right? One is the Ensuro fee, that is the part that pays our salaries, the development of the protocol and everything. And the other is the cost of capital, the return that the LPs receive for providing the capital. And that cost of capital is proportional to how long is the duration of the policy, how much capital they need to put, and an interest rate that we define. Like it's a commercial parameter that we define, okay, for this risk, the liquidity provider will receive 50% annualized on the junior tranche and 15% annualized on the senior tranche. Okay? Well, this is another part of how the pure premiums, because the pure premiums is the first source of the capital that you will use to later pay the losses, right? So we have a flow when we receive pure premiums. Those pure premiums are accumulated in, let's say, a bucket that has the collected pure premiums or the active pure premiums. And then at the same time, that bucket is used to pay the losses, right? So when you have to pay the losses, you first try to use the collected pure premiums, the premiums that you accumulated from previous expired policies. You later use the active pure premiums, that means the pure premiums of the active portfolio. You start using that. And if that is exhausted, then you go and take and we call it a loan, and later I will explain why it's a loan. You take a loan from the junior pool, and if the junior pool is exhausted, then you go to the senior pool. So it's a kind of a cascade where you first touch the pure premium reserve, then the junior, and then the senior. And so this way, the junior returns, the returns of the liquidity providers are usually not impacted by individual policies. So they are only impacted when, in aggregate, you have more losses than the expected, originally expected, right? So that is a key part of the design, and it's part of one of the decisions that we took, that we wanted to provide to the liquidity providers a more or less stable return, not something that fluctuates a lot with the variations of the portfolio. And I have to mention the part of the loan, right? It's a loan because when we take money from the liquidity provider's pool, but if later the same portfolio starts generating profits, so start having less losses than expected, and we previously took a loan from the junior pool, we will go to repay that loan. So that way we have so if we have statistical variations around the number, right? Let's suppose you expect 8% of expected losses. And it's fine, goes 8%, but then goes 9% for 1 month, but then again goes 7% for another month. So that part, and in average, is still 8%. So what happens here is in the moment of the 9%, we will take money from the junior pool, but then later when we have less than 8% and it becomes 7 and we have a profit, that profit goes to repay the junior pool. This is a screenshot of our front end. So in our front end, this is more targeted to the liquidity providers, so we don't have a front end for the risk partners. While anyway, in the front end, they can see a lot of information, but this is more focused on the liquidity providers. And the liquidity providers will have different information about the pools that we have in the protocol and the returns that they can expect from those pools and different values. For example, this utilization rate, and probably will be clear in the next slide. The utilization rates come from, because on a given pool we have a given amount of liquidity, 60K in this case, and out of that amount, part is SCR. That means that part is solvency capital that is locked by active policies in the portfolio, right? When for every policy we sold, we lock more capital, and every policy that expires, we unlock that capital. Right, so this creates a fluctuation of the amount of capital that is locked as solvency. And from there, you have the utilization rate. So all the liquidity providers will receive the same return from the pool, so the return will be higher when you have more utilization rate because you have a bigger part of the capital utilized for covering insurance or for covering risk. But at the same time, this utilization rate affects the liquidity. If I am a liquidity provider in this pool and I have, 5,000, I can withdraw immediately. But if I have 20,000, I cannot withdraw immediately all my funds because if from 60 I remove 20, I go to 40, and 40 is less than the 45 of the SCR. So the pool never can be lower than the SCR. So we cannot allow the liquidity provider to withdraw their funds, leaving the capital under the solvency requirement, right? But we have different parameters in the pools that, for example, we typically, when we are at a 95% of a utilization rate, we stop selling policies. So we don't accept new policies. And this implies that that doesn't mean all the time, but we try to focus on giving to the liquidity providers as much liquidity as possible, right? Always with the guarantee of the solvency, without breaking the guarantee of the solvency. That's one of the decisions of the protocol. Something to mention here is, if you see there, like your balance, available to supply, your balance, etc., all the tokens are denominated in dollars, in USDC. So, or you deposit USDC, and when you provide capital, you receive a token that is denominated in dollars. It's a rebalancing token that increases. So with the accrual of interest coming from the insurance business, you will receive an increase of the units of tokens that you have. So it's more transparent and it's a good experience for the user. Doesn't need to go and check what is the conversion rate and anything like that. Just next. Okay, there. So other information that is relevant for the liquidity providers is what is the unlock schedule, right? What is the duration of the policies that we are covering? So with this unlock schedule, you can see, okay, probably if you scroll for the first cell of that unlock schedule, you will see, okay, in this pool, I don't know, probably is 40% can be withdrawn immediately. But in 1 week, 45% can be withdrawn. And in 3 weeks, 47, right? So that gives to the liquidity providers all the information on when they can withdraw the funds based on the duration of the portfolio. Also, you have the duration here in weeks, and also these colors, because this is a senior. This is something that I forgot to mention. We have the two pools, the junior and the senior pool. But the junior pool is connected to only a specific portfolio, only to a specific partner. Let's say travel insurance in Europe. But the senior pool is connected to, sits on top of several products. So has risk allocated from several products. So has travel insurance in Europe, travel insurance in US, climate insurance in Colombia. And all that information is visible here. So all these colors are what is the allocation of capital for each of the products. We are finding. Well, a final component of the protocol, and this is also a relevant part for the investor, is the asset management. So we are saying that for solvency reason, all the funds need to be there in the protocol, right? But that doesn't mean that the funds need to be there sleeping and without generating any yield as USDC. We have a component that allows to invest those funds into different DeFi strategies. So through a structure that is not. So we have each of the tokens, each of the e-tokens, and each of the premiums account is a reserve, has its own amount of capital, but they all invest that capital into an intermediate contract that is a multi-strategy vault that then deploys the funds into several protocols. Right now we have actually 4 strategies. We invest in Aave, in Compound, and in Mountain Protocol, that is a T-bill representation of, it's a token backed by T-bills. So this way we allow, so we first generate yields for our liquidity providers, and actually this improves also the returns of the portfolio, the part of the premiums too. So if you are a liquidity provider, you will see a yield that part comes from asset management, and the other part comes from the insurance business. So both at the same time. We choose only protocols that are highly liquid, because we need to be able to withdraw those protocols, those funds, as soon as we need them, right? And we are applying this diversification first, to improve the returns, but let's say second, to improve the returns. The first reason is for reliability, right? Initially, we were investing only in Aave, and Aave is a great protocol, but from time to time, they might have liquidity problems. I don't know, security reason, they post the contract, they post the withdrawals and everything. And that kind of, like putting all our eggs in a single basket, can affect the liquidity of our protocol. So we decided to diversify across different strategies. We are restricted, so since we are a regulated company and we need to go and explain the regulator where we invest the funds, we cannot go crazy stuff like, I don't know, Degen stuff like investing in, I don't know, Etina, or perhaps Etina might be safe in the future, but perhaps now it's not, or like, so we can do anything super crazy, but we can do the basic stuff and we can diversify across several strategies. And actually, for example, now we are investing in Aave, but both in bridge USDC and native USDC, and because there is a difference, we can take advantage of that difference. So, yeah, just to do a quick recap. So the key decisions around the protocol have been made around these points, right? So first, the top priority of the protocol is to give a guarantee of the solvency behind the policies that we are covering, right? Second, the experience that we want to give to the investors. So we focused a lot on giving a good experience to the investors, like giving one-to-one conversion, giving tokens that are converted or can be converted to USDC immediately in most of the cases. That means that if the pool is not at 100% utilization rate, you can you can withdraw your funds immediately. And that is good for investors because they have ability to go to jump in and out. And since we have since when the utilization is more closer to 100%, the APY increases, so that will attract new liquidity providers. So that curve is linear, it's not exponential like in Aave or other protocols, but it's good enough, right, to attract liquidity providers when someone wants to jump out. Another decision was allowing several risk pools that are both horizontal or vertical, meaning that you can cover different products, different verticals, let's say travel, climate, you can choose on the junior pool, and on the senior pool you can take, okay, I want to take this upper part of the risk of all the pools. And the other decision was that, abstracting the liquidity provider from the fluctuation, from the normal fluctuations of the portfolio. So how we do that? We have the premiums account that acts as a buffer. So we collect more premiums and we use those premiums and we only touch and start impacting and making a more variable return for the liquidity providers when losses start to become more than expected, only in that case. So well, that's all. Thanks. And sorry again for the...
Yeah, thank you so much, Guillermo. We are a bit advanced in our time, so one question only. Here? Yeah? Go ahead.
Yeah, about the asset manager, I am interested if how it works, if it's a smart contract based, fully based, or it is, I don't know where I have to, or it is a manual action that is required, and what is the yields you are having I think is, yeah, here. The yields you are getting from that asset management strategies you are having.
Yeah, so almost all the funds of all the junior pool or liquidity pools and premiums account are invested in the asset manager. We only leave a small amount of cash in each of the reserves. So each of these contracts, we call it the reserves. We keep perhaps $2,000, $3,000 just to avoid the gas expense of withdrawing from Aave for each of the transactions. But besides of that, all the funds are invested in the asset manager. But then the allocation of the asset manager funds between all the different strategies, that decision is something manual at the moment. So we don't have something automatic that says, hey, compound return spike it up, let's put everything. It's more manual and it's more precautious. So we try to do, it's not our main focus to optimize that. In terms of returns, it changes, but usually it's around the Aave return. That can be, because most of the funds are still in Aave, so maybe 4% at the moment, some moment goes 5%. Let's say we try to approach 5%, so that will be a good return. That if we are there, probably we will be fine. And yes, that's I think I answered.
Okay, thank you so much.